Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Butts About It. I'm your host, Josh Butts. In my dining room, Chus, as always, is in his basement. He has returned from his internship. The Pittsburgh Penguins have freed him temporarily. So as I posted, this week has been weird due to a family issue. But we wanted to not rush content. So this episode is kind of going to have everything in it. Then I'm going to break it out and release it. And I'm not going to pretend that today is tomorrow and all that because that's just confusing for me and for you. So today is tomorrow and yesterday is today. Just time travel with me. But I put out a short after Monday Night Football. Raiders versus Detroit Lions. And I was actually very angry about the usage of Davante Adams in that game, which was he was not used at all. There was not a single pass thrown to a wide receiver by the Raiders in the entire first half. And there were 4 total receptions by wide receivers between Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers, and Hunter Renfrow. Davante Adams did lose 2 very wide open passes that were overthrown by Jimmy Garoppolo, and people are putting a lot of the blame on Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't put all the blame on Jimmy Garoppolo. I put some of the blame on Jimmy Garoppolo because he's coming off an injury, first of all. Second of all, he's never been that great at throwing deep passes. Third of all, the first time that he proves that he can't make a deep pass, why are you still calling deep passes Josh McDaniels and Mick Lombardi? But they did. It didn't work. Davante Adams has seemed mad the last few weeks. I hate the way that the Las Vegas Raiders have handled the Davante Adams situation. They brought in Davante Adams to play for his favorite team when he was growing up and to play with his college best friend, Derek Carr. Then the Raiders immediately turn around and trade Derek Carr. So not a great situation. I understand Davante Adams' frustration. I wouldn't blame him if he sat out. The Monday night game just made me very angry. And Chus did have thoughts about that and kind of was looking at defending Josh McDaniels a bit, which I don't know if you still want to.
I mean, they're all fired now. Yeah. So because on basically what my argument was on Monday was it was similar to like what the argument is going on in Pittsburgh right now. Is it Mike Tomlin's fault or is it Matt Canada's fault? In this case, I was wondering if it was McDaniels' fault or if it was Lombardi's fault. Because at a point, is it the offensive coordinator calling all of these plays and McDaniels not stepping up, or is McDaniels jumping in and calling certain plays and overthrowing Lombardi, or how is it working? Obviously, the offense wasn't working right. And over in Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin doesn't really jump into plays a lot, so it's mostly 95% of the time Matt Canada. Sometimes it is Mike Tomlin, but very, very seldom or very, very minimal is it Mike Tomlin calling these plays. It's always Matt Canada. So I was going off of the record, and I was talking to Josh about it, and I was kind of talking to him, and I kind of just mentioned, I was like, would it be McDaniels that you're blaming, or would it be Lombardi? But now I don't really think it matters who I defend or who I argue for because they're both fired now. They're both gone because Mick Lombardi did get fired today. McDaniels got fired last night as well as the general manager? I don't know.
General manager Dave Ziegler, who is the one who brought in Davante Adams and traded Derek Carr. He was fired.
So they pretty much cleaned house, which is kind of insane to me because McDaniels is just going to be sitting on his couch for the next 3 years just getting paid. So because he had guaranteed money. So that's going to be a very interesting look for how the Raiders are going to be for the next couple of seasons. But that's just the problem with guaranteed money. You just never know how that's going to play out. I mean, we're seeing that with Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. So, you hope it works out, but sometimes it doesn't always work out for you in the best way possible. But going back to my original claim, I don't really think there's, I wasn't necessarily defending McDaniels, but I definitely wasn't against. Yeah, because I felt like they needed a clean house, but I wasn't going to be the one to say because I'm not a Raiders fan. But they just have not looked good over the last couple of weeks. So
they've looked awful. Like there are bad teams, and then there are teams where you're like, I feel bad for the players.
And I think they finally saw that on Monday night. I feel like the Raiders organization was like, wait a second, we can't do this. We're not this bad of a team. So or we need to fix something. And granted, the guarantee money sucks and all of that stuff sucks and stuff like that. But I mean, I feel like the move that they did was pretty good, getting rid of both of them. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter if it was the offensive coordinator calling these plays. It doesn't matter if it was McDaniels calling the plays, because my original claim was, who do you fire in that case? Well, they fired both of them, so it doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much, my whole thing just went out the window, which is fine. But
my thing is like, yes, these are like all the greatest athletes on earth. Even the third stringers are phenomenal athletes. But the play calling was horrible. Like, there were games where it was like, does Josh McDaniels realize that he has a future Hall of Famer on his roster? Why is he not getting the ball to him? Why is Devontae Adams not getting the ball? He's wide open. Why? And if Jimmy G can't make the deep throw, have him go across the middle. Why is Hunter Renfrow suddenly not getting passes?
Yeah, Hunter Renfrow always was a big part of their offense for years.
Derek Carr took all of the blame every year, and now Derek Carr's not there. Jimmy Garoppolo's there, which, sure, Jimmy Garoppolo is not Patrick Mahomes. But also, he helped the 49ers go to a Super Bowl. A good coach can work with him. And you got to work with your coaches or your quarterback's strengths. You got to work with your players' strengths. Now they benched Jimmy Garoppolo for Aiden O'Connell.
Which I think is kind of interesting. But I mean, I've seen people talk about it. They're kind of looking at it as what do you have to lose at this point in the season? So
he's a rookie. We got a lot of rookies playing this week.
Yeah, which is kind of, it's kind of interesting to see. But there's been a lot of switches though, because Ritter got benched for Heineke as well. So I mean, there's been a lot of quarterbacks, moving around and stuff like that. Obviously, we have Will Levis starting. There's definitely a lot of quarterback changes going on right now in the NFL. It's kind of crazy because it was always very consistent for a while. Like, you have that consistency, and then all of a sudden, like, you can notice the change because all the great quarterbacks retired. Because for years it was always like, you had Drew Brees and like Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger. You could even go as far back as saying Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. Like, none of these guys were going anywhere. And then all of a sudden they all left, they all retired. And now you're like, all right, we got to figure out quarterback situations. And now we have all these young guys out there. Like, I feel like the oldest starting quarterback right now has got to be in like their early 30s, mid 30s maybe, because actually was designated starter this season.
I think it's Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
they're 2012.
Yeah, so it would be like 35, 34. Like, that's not even that
Rodgers.
Okay, but
Rodgers,
I guess Rodgers went over.
So
Rodgers went over my head. Yeah,
for those 4 snaps, he was the oldest.
Yeah, so and we'll see. I'm guessing he's coming back next year.
Joe Douglas said he's coming back this year.
And shout out to my boy Connor, who, I don't know if you saw this, but in our fantasy league decided to pick up Aaron Rodgers this week.
I saw that. Bold
Not
move.
Really sure why, because
I don't
expect him to start at any point during the championships.
We'll see what Stan says. But anyway, getting back to Thursday night football, you're right. There is a ton, or Monday night football. There's been a ton of quarterback changes. We're getting into let somebody cook season, I think.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a lot of these
coming back again.
We're gonna have a lot of these moves here, but we cannot talk about Monday night football. And as much as the Raiders annoyed me, we also got to talk about the Detroit Lions, who put on a phenomenal game. It was so fun to watch. Sam Laporta, I wish the Bengals got him. I wanted them to get Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jahmyr Gibbs went too early, but we could have gotten Sam Laporta, and I really wanted them to get Michael Mayer, and I'm still not against Michael Mayer because he's on the Raiders, and I just feel bad for him. But Sam Laporta has been so good, and our tight end position has been so bad. But Tanner Hudson's up from the practice squad. We're going to go. But Sam Laporta did great on Monday Night Football. Phenomenal player. Amon-Ra St. Brown did great. Jared Goff has done fantastic, just all around. What a recovery he's had.
How about Jahmyr Gibbs?
Jahmyr Gibbs, yes. There was coming in early. People were like, this dude sucks. Like, why do we have him?
I wasn't gonna. For me, like over the last couple of weeks, even in my fantasy, the one time I did the fantasy video, which I just haven't had time to do any fantasy analysis. It's just been way too difficult. But that one time I did do fantasy, a lot of people were panicking about Jahmyr Gibbs, and I always said it from the get go. Jahmyr Gibbs just needs a little bit of time. He's a rookie, and he's starting behind David Montgomery, who they signed in the offseason. If David Montgomery signed for a couple of years, eventually they're going to use them as 50%, 50%. And now is going to end up being the time because David Montgomery is now hurt. They weren't going to start Gibbs week 1 or week 2 because why would you let like a couple $1 million or however much that contract was for David Montgomery just sit as a second string? That's kind of what the Steelers were doing last year when they at first refused to put in Kenny Pickett because they paid all that money for Mitch. So, well, not all that money, but they paid money instead of like a rookie contract or whatever. So they wanted to get their use out of him. But for this, David Montgomery is a very talented back, but he is prone to injury. And now, since David Montgomery is now hurt, he might be back next week. They're on bye this week. But Jahmyr Gibbs is taking that load, and we've seen immense improvement from him over these last couple of weeks without David Montgomery. So expect big things to come from him over time. Heck, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if like this time next year, we might be talking about a David Montgomery trade. Like, I note that because, I mean, granted, it's kind of a bold thing to say, but like if you have Gibbs that's supposed to be a stud and you still have David Montgomery who's still young, do you need both running backs? You know, because I mean, they have decent running backs over there. So, I mean, like, it's not like they're struggling. So they might be able to get away with something like a trade, but we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there next year. So,
well, I mean, there's also a beauty to a 2-man backfield though, because you can have
which is true.
Both guys be rested, less likely for injury, and you've got 2 explosive runners.
My favorite was the Saints, 2016 or 2017. Alvin Kamara and Melvin Gordon ran that backfield. It was insane. Alvin Kamara would get all of the main rushes, and Melvin Gordon would get all the touchdowns. It was just insane. Like that, it was just something so unique that nobody really talks about too much, just because it wasn't a relevant season for them. So.
That's why I think Christian McCaffrey has been so successful in San Francisco. With the Panthers, he was getting injured all the time because he was like 90% of the and now in San Francisco it's like, okay, we can still run it, but we can use Debo, or we can use Ayuk, or we can bring in Eli Mitchell
or George Kittle as your tight end, you know, whatever.
Do different stuff and still allow Christian McCaffrey to be that explosive runner and not.
And don't they still have Kyle Juszczyk as well?
Yeah, fullback. They're one of the full teams, one of the few teams that still have a fullback position.
Yeah, so I mean it's definitely a very like they have all of those pieces, you know. So
definitely. But Jahmyr Gibbs looked fantastic on Monday Night Football. Marcus Peters had a great pick 6 off of Jared Goff, though. Like, Jared Goff doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, but that ball was just bad. I don't know if the route runner just got lost or what happened, but Marcus Peters dropped on that ball and he was just gone.
It was a good play.
It was a beautiful play. If there was one thing to say about the Raiders defense that night, it was Marcus Peters did well on that play, and then Max Crosby's a beast. Those are 2 other guys I just feel bad for that they're on the team because I like watching them play, but
yeah,
that team's painful to watch. Well,
that team might be rebuilding for a little bit. They might end up as Houston. So
yeah,
but not Houston currently, but Houston at one point when Houston was like, we're trading away D-Hop, and then Deshaun Watson's like, I want to be traded. JJ Watt, I want to be traded. It's like, uh-oh. And then Houston hit the fan real quick. And so that might be it. I mean, Raiders are already not good, but next thing you know, off season, Devontae Adams gone. No quarterback. Max Crosby, all of the big guys over in Vegas gone. So might be interesting. Might be not a good look. So we'll see.
But I mean, you can rebuild from nothing to something. The Detroit Lions have done it, and they're continuing to do so at the trade deadline, which we hit yesterday on Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone. Happy NFL trade deadline, everyone. Big move, I think, for the Lions is they got Donovan Peoples-Jones from the Cleveland Browns for just a 6th-round pick, which I saw some people on Instagram saying, like, hey, Donovan Peoples-Jones isn't that good. I don't think that's true. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be pretty useful into Detroit. He's not going to be an Amon-Ra St. Brown, but let's consider the situation here. He was on Cleveland that has sucked. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Quarterback play has sucked, and he's been behind Amari Cooper. So you're not going to see a lot of huge plays from him. But I feel like he was someone who was manageable, and he'll work in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, because I was going to say Donovan Peoples-Jones last year was really good. I mean, I don't want to say like he was a stud, but he was one of those consistent wide receivers that would consistently, get like it was like 2 or 3 targets, sometimes 4 targets, and would always be that guy that they would look for in the end zone a lot of times. Like he was, even just remembering like going as far back as remembering his fantasy value. I remember he would always consistently get between 9 and like 14 points by like midway through the season towards the end. Like it was just a consistency with Donovan Peoples-Jones. Even though he was projected so low, it was like AJ Green over in Arizona for a while. Like a lot of people would just kind of overlook AJ Green, but homie would have a touchdown almost every game. He would have like 2 receptions for like 40 yards and a touchdown. And it's like, okay, that's all he did out of 4 targets, but like he was still being utilized. If you give a chance for Donovan Peoples-Jones to like break out a little bit in Detroit, I don't know how they're going to do this now that they have Peoples-Jones. I mean, obviously they have Amon-Ra St. Brown and stuff that he's not going anywhere. They're not moving Donovan Peoples-Jones to wide receiver 1. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Are they going to use him as like wide receiver 3? Are they going to, move him around in like the 4 or 5 areas? Are they going to use him as like punt return in case of injuries? And then whenever the time comes, like if Amon-Ra does get hurt, would they elevate him? Because Amon-Ra isn't always the most healthiest of players just because of how much they utilize him. But I mean, it's all these things that you have to like kind of keep in the back of your head, but I do think it's a good move. I really do. I think it's kind of like a sleeper pick in a way. So, or a sleeper pickup, I should say. So I would keep an eye on Donovan Peoples-Jones. It might be a week or 2 before he gets started, but it might be a good move.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't think he's going to be putting up 100-yard games.
No, absolutely. He's never that type of wide receiver.
I think he's going to have some red zone presence. I think he's going to have some special teams presence, and he's going to want to play on this team because this team is doing well. He's from Detroit, Michigan, and he played for the Wolverines. So
yeah, it's like a dream come true. Almost.
This is the situation for him.
So, and I think he'll make the best of it in any way that he possibly can, which is good because when you have a player that's like dedicated to the team, dedicated to the fan base, since he's from Detroit, you can kind of assume that like even if he didn't grow up a Lions fan, that he had some sort of like Lions love. I mean, that's the same thing with you. Like, granted, you're a Bengals fan, but you still have that Indianapolis Colts love. So it's like you still have that understanding. He went to Michigan, so right. He went to Michigan, right? It was Wolverines,
University of Michigan.
Yeah. So he went to Michigan. I thought for some reason you were talking about like a different Wolverines team that I had never heard of before, but no. But yeah. So like he's played for Michigan. Like he's a solid like guy that you definitely want on the team, and he might just end up being like one of those just consistency players for you over in Detroit. But we'll have to see what they do with him. Obviously, they have a lot really good going for them right now. You don't want to mess with too many things. I think that's why over in Miami they haven't really pushed too much on Chase Claypool yet. I really don't even know if I've seen him do any snaps at all, really. So, I mean, they're really not pushing it. But I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is more likely to make like an appearance or some sort of movement in the game for the Lions, not this week, but the following week, than Chase Claypool does in Miami. So
okay,
that's just, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant, but just going off of 2 not great wide receivers, but I obviously think Donovan Peoples-Jones is a lot better than Claypool at this point in time. So
they're both 2020. They're both the same draft class. So,
and Claypool had a great first year. I mean, he had a decent second year, but like Donovan Peoples-Jones was always that like, he was always like that mid-card guy. But like now he's always still just stayed consistent. So I mean, because even in 2021 he wasn't that bad. So they just weren't really using him because they had the Cleveland Master Class in 2020 with Jarvis Landry and Amari Cooper and all, or not Amari Cooper. It was Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., that wide receiver master class. That was
it's a run
totally
first offense. Like that offense runs
yeah.
through Nick Chubb. So really
Yeah,
no
so
receiver besides your number one guy is going to have a lot of good stats in my opinion. But
yeah, because they really and they did that split run where they did Chubb and Hunt for a while. They'd just done it all, and like so I think this is a good move because Jared Goff will probably get the ball to Peoples Jones, and with Gibbs being the running back right now, they're not going to be utilizing Montgomery until he comes back. But imagine what that offense is going to be like when he does come back, because then you have a split backfield and you've got a pretty decent offense and a pretty okay defense too. So
Jamison Williams hasn't really lived up to the hype either. So we could realistically just see, which granted he was suspended, but
yeah,
we could see Donovan Peoples-Jones take over for that position.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I mean, it's not something where I'd be like, this needs to happen, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I mean, you want to give Jamison a chance, I think, but I think,
but he's definitely not living up to the hype.
I think Donovan Peoples-Jones gets more hate than he's due. Marvin Jones Jr. just left the team, so that leaves an opening as well. Josh Reynolds, okay, he's been
Josh
workable.
Reynolds. I mean, they work with him, but the problem is he's very like inconsistent.
Khalif Raymond. I mean, there's definitely room here for Donovan Peoples-Jones to become the wide receiver too easily.
But I mean, like, go figure. Like this is what I mean. Like, I mean, it wasn't a touchdown a game, so I wasn't entirely true with that. But if you want to like think about his stats last season, this is Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like this season, he's had 8 receptions for 97 yards across all of the games that he's played. So, or at least, yeah, off of all of those games, which is insane. So about maybe 1 reception a game, which is kind of bad. Some games he got none at all. Career stats last year in Cleveland, 2022, 61 receptions, 839 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
And that was with
Cleveland.
Was that Jacoby Brissett last year?
It was Jacoby Brissett. But that's what I mean. Yeah. Like, he was always, like, consistent getting 9 to 12 points because I always thought it was, like, a touchdown, but he was always just getting those, like, semi-big plays. So, like, he has the potential to do good. He's not getting, like, 700 receptions and all of these other crazy stats that, like, maybe Tyreek Hill is getting, where he's getting 12 catches a game. But he had 61 receptions for almost, 1,000 yards, 3 touchdowns, which it's not bad. And even in 2021, he had 597 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he's not a bad wide receiver if given a chance. They just haven't given him a chance this year, I don't think.
What year did Baker Mayfield get?
I think it was 2020.
Okay.
Well, what, you mean 2020 as in like the playoff game?
Well, no. I was going to say, I think that Jared Goff is probably the best quarterback that Donovan Peoples-Jones has played with. But he did play with Baker Mayfield in 2020. Granted, that was Peoples-Jones' rookie year.
He wasn't seen a lot that year.
2021 was the year that Baker was basically playing injured the entire season, I think.
Yeah,
Jacoby Brissett's meh. Deshaun Watson has been terrible. PJ Walker is a fill-in. Like, I think Jared Goff might still be the best quarterback Donovan Peoples-Jones has played with, and I think this 6th-round pick could easily be a steal for the Detroit Lions.
I 100% agree. I mean, you just got to give it a little bit of time. So we'll see what happens, though.
Another team that is apparently having a fire sale. Thought we'd see more from the Broncos. We did not. But the Washington Commanders decided they don't need a defensive line. They are trading everyone away. They traded 2 of their big names, Montez Sweat, who was going to be a free agent anyway this year, and I think maybe Chase Young was as well. But they traded both of them. Montez Sweat was traded to the Chicago Bears. Washington Commanders will receive a 2nd-round pick from the Chicago Bears. I guess the Falcons were also interested in him. I heard a rumor. But ultimately, the Bears won out. I don't know that he's going to do much better on the Bears because the Bears suck. But
what, Sweat?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to go anywhere. They're not going to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, And if his contract's up at the end of the year, it's not like
it's like I think they just wanted that second round pick, which okay, good for you, Washington. The guy who, however, might still be getting a ring and made me very happy that we played the 49ers last week, Chase Young, being added to that defense. They now have Nick Bosa and Teron Armstead and Chase Young as pass rushers. They got Chase Young for just the third rounder. That's insane. Chase Young's a beast when he's healthy. That being the key. But
I mean, for me, like, I don't know. In my opinion, I don't think he's lived up to like his fullest potential yet. Maybe that's because of injury and stuff. Because I mean, this season, like, he's had a decent, like, okay amount of sacks. He's had like, I'm looking right now. It's 2, 3.5, 4, 5 sacks this season. I mean, it's not bad. He's had like what, 10 tackles, maybe 15 tackles and like 5 sacks so far this year, which isn't terrible, but like, you know, I expected a lot more from Chase Young. And I hope that maybe in San Francisco it'll be a little bit different for him because it's a change of pace. He's not in Washington anymore. Maybe it'll be different for him. But I mean, this could be a boom or bust kind of trade, you know? So it could end up being as good as like, oh, it's depth for San Francisco in the end, or starter material type stuff, you know, where he ends up being a stud, which is possible because for some reason when you go to San Francisco right now, you just become a monster. And I don't know why that is, but
I think he's going to be a rotational piece in the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to allow them to keep Nick Bosa healthy and keep him electric and not tired out. Because there was a point where I think it was Ted Karras during the Bengals game just laid out Nick Bosa.
Oh, really?
He just stood up and like stiff armed him. And I've never seen that with Nick Bosa. I don't know if Nick Bosa was just getting tired from being out there for so long, but that's the way that happens with defenses. Nick Bosa's a phenomenal player, former defensive player of the year, but having Chase Young out there, same thing we said with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, that allows them to put in another stud for a few snaps and have him be like a third down guy.
Yeah.
Or I think it's a good move for the 49ers. And like I said, I'm glad the Bengals don't have to play the 49ers again until the Super Bowl. Which
we'll see about that.
We're definitely going to. I don't know why anyone doubts that. Then for our Arizona Cardinals fans and our Minnesota Vikings fans, Nick Bosa
got traded from Minnesota to Arizona in a blockbuster trade that nobody saw coming. That is not true. Go ahead.
Even Ian Rappaport didn't see it coming, and he decided not to report on it because it didn't happen. But the Vikings traded for quarterback Josh Dobbs. They have announced that they're still planning on starting rookie Jaron Hall this Sunday. So that's what I said. There's going to be a lot of rookies starting this Sunday. I'm going to try and put a video out about that on Saturday. But yeah, so Josh Dobbs was traded. Jonathan Gannon announced that another rookie quarterback, Clayton Tune, is going to start, and he's going to start for the Arizona Cardinals, and he announced that before the Josh Dobbs trade. The Cardinals received a 6th-round pick for Dobbs, and the Vikings received a 7th-round pick.
And I was going to say, I don't think Dobbs is that bad. Like, I think he did okay in Arizona. Under the circumstances of what he had, he did pretty well, which, honestly, if I was Minnesota, I mean, yes, maybe go see how that rookie does, but you might still want to run with Dobbs, man. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like he showed a lot of promise in Arizona under the circumstances he was in, and Minnesota has the weapons for Dobbs. So I always liked that guy back in Pittsburgh, but he was never going to start because Ben Roethlisberger was always that guy. So.
Someone said he's speed running the Ryan Fitzpatrick career.
Okay. I mean, which is possible. I mean, he's gone from what? He went to Pittsburgh to Cleveland to Arizona to Minnesota.
He's been with Tennessee.
Yeah,
and he went back to Pittsburgh for a minute. He's been everywhere.
He's speed running Ryan Fitzpatrick's career, which is kind of sick, honestly. Good for Dobbs, man. It must be a good lifestyle, just going all over the place and saying you played for almost every team.
Yeah, I'm sure he enjoys packing all the time. But I was kind of surprised by this trade a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, because Josh Dobbs, like you said, has been really good. And I haven't talked to Joe about this yet, and he has a better grasp on the way the Arizona Cardinals team works, of the Cardinal rule. But I kind of wondered if they did this to prevent like a quarterback war in the locker room. Because like say Kyler Murray comes back from injury and they were losing, but say they are performing worse than they were with Dobbs.
Yeah.
And there's already the Kyler Murray trade rumors. There's the rumors that the Cardinals are tanking for Caleb Williams. You've got all that going on. I think getting Dobbs out of that locker room might just be a way to prevent adding fuel to that fire.
Yeah.
And there was a situation that arose with Kirk Cousins' ACL. I love Kirk Cousins. I hated but
yeah.
Seeing that was an easy way for them to go, hey, here's a guy, and just kind of move him. The other thing is Carson Wentz. Like, no one wants to sign Carson Wentz. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Do you know why that is?
No, I don't. He wasn't even that bad. I don't even understand why he gets all the hate. But I guess people are just assuming that Carson Wentz is just gonna go in and be like, "Let me show you how it's done," and then gets hurt immediately on the second play of the game. So I think that's what people are kind of anticipating, or these teams, just because he's been so injury prone. So, and the last thing they need is to sign somebody like Carson Wentz, who does tend to get hurt when they already have hurt quarterbacks. But it's one of those things where it's like, he's not bad either. Like, as long as he's healthy, like, for example, like in Minnesota, or like a team that like has like a decent O-line or something like that, he'll do fine. But like you put him in an offense where like there's no O-line, like obviously Carson Wentz shouldn't get signed there because he's gonna get freaking shattered. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know why people are skipping out on him, because it wasn't like he's done anything like crazy newsworthy or anything like that. That's like put him in the news for good or for bad or for change or whatever. Because like they're like the whole Colin Kaepernick scandal, why people wouldn't sign him was a whole thing in itself, but there really wasn't any controversy, more or less, quote unquote, around Carson Wentz. He didn't do anything. He's just out. I feel like it was like a Phillip Rivers situation, where it was like Phillip Rivers didn't want to be done, but nobody was like willing to approach him. Because like, and even when he like offered, he was like, "Oh, I'll come back." Everyone was like, "No, we're good." So it's just like,
I wasn't a fan of Carson Wentz being signed to the Colts as a starter, but I would be fine with him as a backup.
Yeah, or just like get you through the rest of the season,
It's just weird that like we're seeing these random guys in like the Chicago Bears started Tyson Badgett.
I don't understand that.
The Vikings are starting Jaron Hall. The Cardinals are going to start Clayton Tune. Like who knows what Atlanta's doing?
This is just going to be a mess, dude. This is like, I kid you not, like, we're in shambles in the NFL right now.
If Joe Burrow gets hurt, the Bengals are starting Jake Browning.
Yes, legend. And then we'll be starting Mitchell Trubisky if Kenny Pickett doesn't perform well on Thursday, because he's dealing with his own injuries. So
that was kind of why the Josh Dobbs trade surprised me, because I was like, okay, they're going to test out Jaron Hall. If Jaron Hall sucks, they'll go sign someone like Carson Wentz. Yeah. And they're like, no, we're going to go get Josh Dobbs. And Arizona's going to start Clayton Tune. Okay. Whatever. Fine. You do you. Thursday Night Football.
This Thursday. Tomorrow.
Today. Yes.
Yesterday.
Today is tomorrow. Yesterday's today.
Yes. Thursday Night Football.
The Steelers, your team, play the Tennessee Titans, nobody's team. And they've got a bit of a
Nobody's team.
They've got I talk a lot of smack for someone who's a fan of a team that lost to them, but the Tennessee Titans have a bit of a quarterback controversy battle going on, and Ryan Tannehill's on his way out. He's going to be a free agent next year. They drafted Will Levis this year in the second round, and last year they drafted Malik Willis in, I believe, the third round. People thought he was going to be a first rounder. I didn't. I don't think you did.
No, I was never high on Malik Willis.
I remember people saying he was going to be a first round pick, and we got flack because we had him in like the second round of one of our mock drafts, and people were like, "You don't know ball," and then he went in the third round. So, hey, maybe we pay attention to some things. But Malik Willis and Will Levis and Ryan Tannehill are all there. We saw a little bit of Malik Willis on Sunday. Not a lot. We saw mostly the Will Levis show, the 33rd pick of this draft, I believe.
Yes, something like that.
And some people thought he was going to be a first rounder. He was there, waiting to get drafted. It was sad. His girlfriend became famous. Now ex-girlfriend, I think. I think they broke up. There was some story on Snapchat about it. Maybe it wasn't true. I don't know. Anyway, his girlfriend at the time became famous. He also became famous for putting mayo in his coffee.
Which wasn't entirely true, I don't think. I think he was trolling the media for that.
Facts. I think it's facts. And then he just decided that was weird and wanted to backtrack. But he failed. We're still reporting on it. He played great, though. He played great.
Yeah, I mean,
he can do whatever he wants. He can put anything in his coffee.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with it is, I mean, going into tonight's game, tomorrow's game, whatever you want to call it. The thing about it is, this will be kind of a test for Will Levis. And the reason I say that is because they did play Houston, and I do think Houston is a pretty okay team. However, Stroud was able to figure it out like pretty quickly. They were able to get the balls off fast and quickly. They were able to, get those passes. They pretty much shut down Pittsburgh. Will Levis is only going into his second game. And I mean, I don't know how much he started on Sunday. I mean, obviously he threw 4 touchdowns, but was that encompassed over like a half? Was that encompassed over 3/4? Like, do we know how long he was in for?
I'm trying to remember. I think they put in Malik Willis for like a hot minute, and then Malik Willis was crap. And so they were like, because originally they were each going to play a half. And then Willis didn't play well, and so he got pulled. Malik Willis, he played in the game, but he doesn't even have any stats from the game.
All right.
Somehow.
So I was just wondering, because with Will Levis, I will say, like, unless he can get the ball out quickly, I think this big challenge will be this pass rush that Pittsburgh has. And I think that's how Pittsburgh's been stopping teams, is based on their pass rush and having to rely on, just airing it out, throwing it out, and we still have like some pretty decent cornerbacks like, Joey Porter Jr. and Patrick Peterson, who's been kind of doing a little bit better and stuff. Granted, we are without Minka, but, Casey even had an interception, in last week's loss to the Jags. So, and he's filling in for Minka. So our team has good backups, and our team is pretty like decent when it comes to defense, and Cam Hayward is supposed to come back. So, which will help tremendously. You won't have that backfield with Minka, but you'll have that front line with Cam, because he was activated from the injured reserve today and is expected to play tomorrow, possibly, but would be very helpful. Now, we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of different random implications. First example, Pittsburgh loves to play good on primetime football. I can't tell you why.
I think most teams do.
No. There is something. Did you see that Steelers stat when they beat the Raiders?
Mm-mm.
Mike Tomlin's won 30 Monday Night Football games in a row.
Ooh.
Or something like that. It was. It might not be that high. Please don't kill me if it wasn't that high. But it was a very high number. But like, it was insane. It was like he just picked up his Mike. Yeah, I want to look this up before I get killed. Mike Tomlin Monday Night Football wins.
Don't be spreading misinformation on my program.
Okay. The Steelers have won 21 straight Monday Night Football games at home. 20. Okay. He's 20-3.
Wow.
All time on Monday Night Football. So, and then Thursday Night Football, I don't really know a stat for that. I'm not going to really go through and look up that too. But for some reason, I feel like they also like to perform okay on Thursday Night Football, depending on if they're home or away. Last year when we played Cleveland on Thursday night, we got smoked. But last time we played Tennessee at home in a primetime game, we destroyed them. Will we destroy them this year? Absolutely not. We're not going to be destroying Tennessee this year, but it does lead to a wonder or a possibility of that. And, last time I went to a November Thursday night game, it was the 6-2 Steelers against the 6-2 Carolina Panthers back in 2018. It was a beautiful, cold day at Heinz Field because it wasn't Acrisure Stadium. It was Heinz Field. Christian McCaffrey runs it in for a touchdown, 7-0. And the next thing you know, first play of the game, Juju Smith-Schuster just books it down the field, 7-7, baby. Next thing you know, the Steelers win 55-14, and Carolina doesn't win another game, and they fall to 6-10.
I remember a beautiful Monday Night Football game. Ryan Finley was starting for the Cincinnati Bengals. No one thought the Bengals had a chance, and Ryan Finley led.
Do you remember what year? Do you remember what day that was?
Oh, it was late in the season of 2019, I think. Yeah. I remember Von Bell standing over the top of Juju.
Oh, are we going to go this route?
No, we're not going to go this route.
It was a wonderful 2015 wildcard game where the Bengals had beaten the Steelers until Jeremy Hill fumbled in the jungle
I'm cutting your mic. I cut your mic.
You want to talk about the fumble in jungle last year? Let's talk about the 2015
No. Let's get back to Will Levis. You brought up the Steelers. Cam Hayward's coming back. That's going to help with the run defense with Derrick Henry being in the backfield. But you mentioned Minka's out.
Yes.
So Will Levis he had 4 touchdowns in one start, 0 interceptions against the Falcons. The Ryan Tannehill has two.
I think I was saying the Texans.
That's my bad. Texans.
Yeah, that's my bad. For some reason, I got them mixed up.
That's okay. Falcons, decent defense. Jesse Bates is back in that secondary. AJ Terrell. They've got some playmakers. So 65.5% completion rate, 238 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 of which went to DeAndre Hopkins, who has 3 touchdowns on the season. Now, let's go to Mr. Ryan Tannehill. He has 2 touchdowns on the season, 6 interceptions. If Will Levis, because Steelers have a very good defense.
Mm-hmm.
Steelers are being carried by their defense this year.
Yes.
And TJ Watt loves to put pressure on the quarterback. He's arguably the best at doing that right now. I think Myles Garrett is maybe the only one ahead of him, and Danielle Hunter in Minnesota. But if Will Levis is able to stand in the pocket, make good decisions, get the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, if they're able to get that DeAndre Hopkins connection going, that would be great because they brought him in to do something, and we haven't really seen him at all this season. So I think we could maybe see the new face of the franchise here. And
I mean, it's possible.
You were very high on Will Levis before the season started, and we kind of missed on Anthony Richardson. Now he's injured, but he played well. I think we were right-ish about Bryce Young. I still want to give him more time. We're a little off on CJ Stroud. Will Levis, though, you were high on. You thought he could be a first-rounder.
Yeah.
He ended up falling.
I thought he could have been. I think he shouldn't have fell as low as he did. I definitely thought that he should have went up there. I thought, if anything, some of those, like, I knew Bryce Young was going to go first. Like, it was almost a given. But I felt like, if anything, at that time, I thought Anthony Richardson should have fell. Now, granted, I do take that back because Anthony Richardson was a lot of fun to watch in the first couple of weeks he did play. The only thing that does concern me about AR is that the running that he does reminds me a lot of Lamar. And Lamar always tends to get hurt once a season. So I don't really want that for AR. I want him to be able to use that cannon that he has. Lamar Jackson doesn't really have those weapons or that cannon, whereas, Indianapolis could utilize some of their weapons that they have. Because, like, I don't know, Baltimore is always weird with their wide receivers. They have like 18 wide receivers. I can't keep count anymore. Like Zay Flowers, Odell, and then they throw to Duchesne or whatever his name, or Duchesne. What is his name? Or Duvernay.
Oh, Devin Duvernay?
Yeah, Devin Duvernay. Duchesne. I was thinking of somebody else from.
Fun fact, just for the Ravens fans, I just want them to know that Andre Yosivas, the Bengals' 6th round pick, now has more touchdowns than Zay Flowers does this year. That is all.
It hurts my fantasy.
Continue your point.
But yeah, I always thought Will Levis could be good. He came out of Kentucky, and Kentucky had a really good year last year. And I always thought that, he should have been a little bit higher because, granted, obviously you still have those Alabama, Ohio State quarterbacks and stuff like that are playing. But I had something where I was like, I feel like this guy's going to be good. And, and then he fell, and I was kind of like, I guess they see something wrong with him. Tennessee took a chance on him. I mean, heck, I even, in one of my fantasy leagues, I drafted him like in just a snake draft, just because I was like, he's going to start at some point. And I knew he was going to. And guess who's starting this week in my lineup? Will Levis. So, and that also might be because Russell Wilson is on bye, and it's a 14-person league, which is different than the one that me and you were in. So, and there's just no quarterbacks in that league. So, but
the league we're in, Kirk Cousins, who is out, is the best available quarterback on the waivers, just for the record. That's how bad it is. But
yeah, dude, our waiver out. But nonetheless, I was very high on Will Levis, and I think we could see a lot from him in this game if they can get that target going. But there's 2 implications with it. Number one, can he handle the defense that Pittsburgh's been putting up? Because granted, Pittsburgh's been inconsistent. They allowed a lot of points to Houston. They allowed a lot of points to San Francisco. Every other team, they've kept it relatively close and shut down the offense. Can they handle the pass rush? On top of that, what will Levis do on primetime football in Pittsburgh? He played. It was a Tennessee game on 1:00.
As a Steelers fan, what do you want to see from Will Levis? Like, what do you think the weaknesses in your defense are that you want to see him target?
Oh, just those quick passes. If he can just figure out ways to do just constant slot routes, slants, getting the ball out quickly, that's how Stroud killed us in Houston. So if Will Levis can do that, like change his game plan a little bit up with that, because TJ Watt's going to be coming in hot. Cam Hayward's going to be coming in hot. You might have Herbig out there. You might have a lot of players rushing that line. So you're not going to have a lot of time. And that Pittsburgh crowd on Thursday nights are crazy loud because it's a dedicated fan base, and we still have a winning record. So they're going to be loud tomorrow or tonight. At some point. I don't know when you're releasing this, so I don't, but nonetheless, like Will Levis, I think if he can figure out to get those quick passes out, I don't know if the Pittsburgh's rush will be able to get to him, and you'll be reliant completely on Joey Porter Jr. and Patrick Peterson and those one-on-ones and the double coverages. And will they be able to double cover him? Will Casey be able to step up? So, because, I mean, you could even try to use the run game because we also can't stop the run still. So we still struggle against the run. And with Derrick Henry being a beast that he was, Nick Chubb was running all over us before that weird leg injury happened. So all I'm saying is I expect quick passes and runs. And I think that's how you win. But if you wait too long in the pocket, Will Levis is going to get sacked like 8 times. Well, maybe not that many, but...
So we probably won't see a lot of play action then. We'll see a lot of just quick slant routes. Likely.
Yeah, because, I mean, there you might get some play action, but the problem is like, if you hold out too long, or if you're like looking for a long bomb, like for example, like if you're going like 4 verts or something like that, and you have to wait for the play to develop, there's no way that Will Levis is going to be able to wait for that play to develop. Those players get that happy feet. A lot of that stuff happens. So it's like you got to really be careful.
Okay.
So
Well, that's what we've got for Thursday Night Football. We've got possibly Will Levis doing a on-field interview for the face of the franchise of the Tennessee Titans. But that is not the only game happening this week. Let's look at the rest of the games, starting with the Dolphins at Chiefs, but they're not playing in Kansas City. They're playing in Frankfurt at 9:30 a.m. I have no idea if Taylor Swift will be making that trip. I highly doubt it, which does put the Chiefs at an advantage or a disadvantage apparently because they just lost to the Broncos. Who do you think will win?
So it's the Chiefs at who?
It's the Dolphins and the Chiefs, but they're in Frankfurt.
Dolphins.
Dolphins? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going Dolphins. I mean, granted, yes, Kansas City might have lost because of because everyone was like, Patrick Mahomes had the flu. That's why he lost.
It's because of Taylor Swift.
But then there's the Taylor Swift thing, and then oh my gosh, it still drives me nuts. I don't mind that Taylor Swift's at the game, but like you don't need to cut to her every single touchdown, man.
No,
like
that's Swift.
NFL media, please stop doing that.
Taylor Swift is the greatest signing in the history of the Kansas City Chiefs, and they will now show her every play. And every game that she's not at, they're going to lose, which I think the Eras Tour is restarting back up. So Chiefs might be in trouble if that's the case. The Taylor Swift curse might be real. We will see.
Maybe, yeah, just maybe they won't go to the Super Bowl this year.
I'm gonna take the Dolphins just because I think I can't. It's hard to bet against either of these teams, but the Chiefs don't have any receivers.
The only thing that I can think of is that the referees like do something where it's like pass interference, it's a touchdown or something.
Yeah, I'm taking the refs in this game actually.
Yeah, it really depends on what side the refs go with, and if they don't go down, if it's neutral, it'll probably be Miami. If it's more towards the Chiefs, it'll be the Chiefs. Because I feel like a lot of times the Chiefs have been getting those lucky wins. I don't know. The refs have not been good this year, I feel like. Or either I'm just noticing it more this year, or the refs are just not good.
They've been atrocious. They've been terrible.
So because they've ruined a lot of games. Because, I mean, even that Steelers-Rams game, I feel like that was a really close call, and it was just a really weird thing. But that was from 2 weeks ago, so we're not going to talk about that.
No,
but
they've been awful.
Miami's a special team. So
okay, next game is Vikings at Falcons. Both teams are starting a new quarterback. Taylor Heineke is starting for the Atlanta Falcons. Jaron Hall is starting for the Minnesota Vikings. And I believe Justin Jefferson is still out.
So I'm going to go with the Falcons. And the reason I'm going to go with the Falcons is just because I feel like Heineke's a little bit more experienced. He'll take advantage of, Kyle Pitts a little bit more. And they still have a little bit more of I wouldn't necessarily say the most developed offense, but they definitely have, some weapons that Heineke can work with. I mean, obviously in Minnesota, you have Jordan Addison and stuff that you can work with and stuff, but, JJ's been out, so you haven't really had your top 2 weapons, so you're just relying on Addison a lot. You have, like the running back situation's a little weird over in Minnesota. I mean, it's Alexander Madison's been doing nothing. Cam Akers has been doing a little bit more. Ty Chandler's not seeing the ball at all, I swear.
In the receiving game, though. They used him in the receiving game.
Yeah, I mean, they do use him sometimes, but it's just not as much as I would like. So I feel like with them putting in this rookie, because Kirk Cousins has been out, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be winnable. And with the rookie, this being their first game, I don't know how he's going to do, so I'm just going to go on the safer side and go Taylor Heineke for this game.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to go
Atlanta.
I'm going to go Falcons as well, but mainly because of the defense. I think the defense is going to be able to force turnovers with Jaron Hall starting. You got Calais Campbell applying pressure. Jesse Bates and A.J. Terrell are going to be in the secondary. I don't trust the Falcons' offense just because it seems like every week they refuse to use all of their stars. They only use one, whether it's Drake London or Kyle Pitts or Bijan. They never use all of them. But I do think the Falcons defense will be able to pull this out for the Minnesota Vikings, or for the Atlanta Falcons against the Minnesota Vikings. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears at the New Orleans Saints. Tyson Bagent is once again getting the start. And, this game doesn't look like it's going to be very exciting, being honest.
They should have put this on primetime, man. This is deserving of the Sunday Night Football.
Don't you worry. The primetime game next week is going to be... It's Raiders at Jets. So don't
best
you worry.
game. Oh my god. This snooze fest. I'm just gonna go with the Saints. Just it's the Saints. I think they're better than the Bears still.
I'm gonna ride with Tyson Bagent blindly until he gives me a reason not to.
I guess. I mean, whatever. I'm just going Saints. Let's go. Let's win that NFC South at 9-8, baby. They're 4-4. The Falcons are 4-4. The Buccaneers are 3-4. The Panthers are 1-6. Yeah.
Tyson Bagent. Tyson Bagent's done a lot for the brand, though, so I'm gonna ride with him. Rams Packers. I don't know if Matthew Stafford is starting, and John Wolford just got signed to the Buccaneers. He was the backup. So I don't know who's the quarterback in LA right now. I don't know if Sean McVay knows who the quarterback in LA is right now.
So is Matt Stafford confirmed, like, dealing with injuries?
Dude, he has injuries. I don't know if he's going to start or not, though. And if he doesn't start, I don't know who is starting.
Yeah, let me do a little quick.
See if you can do a little research. Other than that, we got the Green Bay Packers. Who we got? What do you?
So Matt Stafford thumb. This was 5 hours ago.
Okay.
Didn't practice Wednesday, but the quarterback remains day to day.
Okay, so he could play. Maybe.
So he could play, but he didn't practice.
Who do they have? They have Brett Ripien because Stetson Bennett had to deal with his stuff. They drafted Stetson, and Stetson... Okay, Brett Ripien's the backup.
So wait, what happened to Stetson Bennett?
He had issues, legal issues that I don't really want to get into.
Interesting. Okay.
I believe. So, and then I think he also had other like mental health issues too. So we'll just stay away from that. But so Brett Ripien is the starting quarterback for the Rams. Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love. I hate the way the Packers run everything, so I'm going Rams.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the Packers have just kind of looked lost recently. I don't know. I feel like the Rams have been losing really tight, close games, and I don't think they're like a bad team at all. So, because I think they could have easily beaten the Steelers. Like some of these teams they easily could have beaten earlier on in the season. They should be a lot better, but they remind me a lot of the Vikings right now, or at least the Vikings earlier in the season where they were losing those close games, whereas last year the Vikings would win those close games where they can't win those close games. So I feel like the Rams definitely can win this game because I don't know. I'm not real high on Green Bay. At first I was kind of high on Green Bay at the beginning of the season. They looked good, but beginning of the season never means too much whenever you get to the mid-season. So
facts.
Yeah.
Rams. Next up we have Commanders at Patriots. I'm going we got Sam Howell starting for the Commanders, Mac Jones starting for the Patriots. I'm going Commanders.
I'm gonna go Commanders. Oh my gosh, I don't like the Patriots.
The Commanders sold out on their D-line, but I don't think it's going to matter because the Patriots offense struggles against everyone except for the Buffalo Bills for some reason.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers next month because for some reason the Patriots love doing well against us. So, yeah. So, nonetheless, yeah, I'm taking the Washington Commanders by a mile.
Next game, Seahawks at Ravens. Geno Smith versus Lamar Jackson. Seahawks just got Leonard Williams from the New York Giants during the trade deadline, so they're adding a little something there. I really want the Baltimore Ravens to lose, but I feel like they're going to win.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because I I don't want to go with the Ravens, but I know just like they're just gonna pick. It's just gonna be some goofy way that they win. It's gonna be like that Cleveland game, and it's just I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go Ravens, but I'm rooting for the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I'm gonna look at it too.
Buccaneers, we have Baker Mayfield versus CJ Stroud's Texans. Mike
This
Evans
could go either way, in my opinion. I feel like, I mean, both teams are okay. There's nothing like dynamite about either. I mean, I think Tampa has a pretty good team, I guess. Houston getting there. I don't know. I'm gonna go Tampa. Or wait, who's home?
Texans.
Shit. Sorry,
I'm not looking at you on the screen right now, so I just heard you whisper that.
Yeah. I can't. I'm gonna go Houston. Screw it. I'm gonna go Houston. They're
with the
home.
Buccaneers.
Yeah, they're home. Because I was gonna go Buccaneers, but I just feel like it's gonna be whoever the home team is this week for them.
I think Mike Evans, coming off of a rough game, is gonna want some payback. So he's gonna go off or something.
I hope so.
Cardinals at Browns. We got the rookie Clayton Tune starting against PJ Walker.
What a snooze, bro. I hope the Cardinals win. Cardinals by a mile. I'm going Cardinals.
Yeah, let's just go. Oh, dude. Clayton
Tune's
gonna die.
Tune it up, baby. Tune it up.
Miles Garrett is gonna kill him.
No. Tune it up, baby. It's time to tune it up. Tune up the band.
I hope I'm wrong on this one again. I'm always wrong with the Cardinals pick for some reason.
Cardinals.
I'm gonna go Browns. I think Miles Garrett's gonna. I can't bet against Miles Garrett.
I don't know. I for some reason I think it's gonna be the Cardinals. I don't know why. I think it's gonna be the Cardinals.
You said that against Dallas, so I guess. Sure.
I mean, I don't always try my best to pick Arizona, but when I do, I like to be right. So I'm hoping that I'm right in this situation. So.
Okay. Next game.
It's a snooze fest. That's the only reason why. PJ Walker is a backup. Tune is a rookie backup. And they are just going to go at it. And you know what? Before we go further, do you ever think about Zach Mettenberger at all?
No.
Because there was a game where the Tennessee Titans, Zach Mettenberger, played against Ben Roethlisberger, and when they played, it was the two longest names in two quarterbacks they combined were the longest names for quarterbacks in NFL history or something. When Mettenberger and Roethlisberger went up against each other, they had a combined total number count of 35 or 38 characters or something like that, which was the most ever. And for some reason, that was big news that game. And sometimes I think about Zach Mettenberger. I hope he's out there doing well. Let's keep going.
These random off trails are the reason we don't usually record at night. Just for the record, Colts at Panthers. Gardner Minshew's Colts versus Bryce Young's Panthers, coming off their first win off the leg of Eddie Pinheiro, who had to kick 4 times because guy kept jumping off sides on the Texans. But who do you got?
I'm gonna go with Indianapolis. Just because I think Gardner Minshew has looked good, and they just have lost those really close games. I think they should have beaten Cleveland. Gardner Minshew did get shaken up last week. He was a little hurt.
Yeah, he got a little roughed up.
All right. So with that being said, hopefully he kind of brushed that off and he's good. I don't really think Carolina's win was anything to be crazy noteworthy. I think they only won by a couple points. And Indianapolis is due for a win after all of these points they've been putting up and all the effort they've been putting in. I think it's going to be Indianapolis picking up this win here. I don't think Carolina has it all figured out just yet.
Possible revenge game here. Frank Reich, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, is the former head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. So keep an eye out for that.
That could be also very very interesting too. We'll see how that plays out.
So next game, oh, you're gonna love this one.
No, great. I don't like the sound of this.
The New York Giants, currently, I believe, being led by Tommy, not Danny, DeVito, against the recently redone Las Vegas Raiders being led by Purdue legend Aiden O'Connell.
Why is this even a game, man? Just sucks, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, this matchup is not going to be.
What? You don't like the third string rookie quarterback versus?
No, you know what? It's going to be the Raiders. They're going to win. And the reason the Raiders are going to win is because they're going to pull a Georgia Tech from last year where Georgia Tech fired their head coach and magically beat Pitt midway through the season. And that's what's going to happen. The Raiders are going to pick up this miraculous win after firing everybody in their office and just cleaning house. And then they're going to be like, you know what? O'Connell's going to go in, Purdue legend. He's going to go in and just be like, you know what? Giants, it's time to get pooped on. They're going to win like 38-10. Actually, I don't think it's going to be that high, but I do think the Raiders are going to win the game. So
Devontae Adams is going to have 300 yards and 5 touchdowns to have a stat adjustment game.
Yeah, he's going to be like, call me the next cheetah. So, and what's another fast cat that isn't a cheetah?
I don't know. Cheetahs are kind of known for that. I mean, tigers are kind of fast.
Fastest cats. Okay, he's a jaguar. Actually, that probably wouldn't. That's
Jaguars, Panthers, and tigers are all kind of already taken.
Egyptian. He's an Egyptian Mau.
Oh yeah, that just rolls right off the tongue. Devontae, the Egyptian Mau.
Or I guess a cougar. Cougars are pretty fast, but they're not like super. They can run up to 50 miles per hour.
I'm gonna go Giants. I think they'll run the offense primarily through Saquon Barkley, though. So, yeah, that game's gonna be terrible. Wow,
man, these games suck this week. Keep going.
Hey, we got an NFC East battle next up, though.
Okay,
Cowboys at Eagles.
That'll be a fun game. That's a tough one to pick, though, because I feel like it could go either way. I feel like the Eagles have been struggling a little bit. Not totally, but just a little bit. You know, coming off that loss and then the miracle win over Washington. I'm going to go with Dallas.
Ooh, so I'm going to go with the Eagles because of A.J. Brown. I think
he did have a really big game. And Devonta Smith also had a decent game, too.
I don't think a lot of people realize, and this is another video I've been working on. A.J. Brown is in the running for that 2,000 yards.
Really?
Yeah, he is. Let me pull up his stats. He is not that far behind Tyreek Hill. So A.J. Brown has 939 regular season yards and 5 touchdowns already.
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill stats, and Tyreek Hill is the guy everyone's talking about getting this, has 1,014 yards already, which phenomenal.
He's not really that far behind, though. You're not wrong.
No. So I
think everybody's just talking about him because he had that 215-yard game.
Mm-hmm. But so A.J. Brown last week had 130 yards. Then he had 137 versus the Dolphins. He had 130 versus the Jets. He had 175 versus the Commanders in their first game. So he's very consistently. He has not had a game below 100 yards since week 2 against the Vikings.
Yeah, which that was a weird game.
And he has not had a game. He has had one game below 130 yards in that stretch. And that was on October 8th against the Rams. And he had 127 yards.
Yeah.
So
that's something to keep an eye on.
And I believe the average yards you have to get the 2,000 is 138. So A.J. Brown is in the running there. And I think Jalen Hurts knows that. And I think they're going to try and get some attention on that.
Wouldn't that be something if A.J. Brown actually got 2,000 yards and Tyreek Hill didn't? That would just change. That would flip the world upside down, man.
The Eagles. I'm gonna go Eagles because of that.
I mean, I think AJ Brown will still have a good game, but I think Dallas is going to come up the win.
Okay. Finally, Sunday Night Football. Just take it all in real quick.
I know what the game is. I actually saw something on Facebook about this, but go ahead.
The Buffalo Bills are traveling to Cincinnati to face the Cincinnati Bengals, and we are color coding the stadium. It's going to be awesome. I'm not going to be there, but obviously this matchup has a lot of emotions behind it. It's going to be a fun matchup. Both of these teams generally get along. They were bonded even more last year with the whole Damar Hamlin situation.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a fun game, though. I love that the Bengals are finally getting it together. Joe Burrow is back. Josh Allen's kind of been a bit iffy. Bengals' weakness has been tight end on offense, really. And Irv Smith, he's been being asked to catch. Hasn't been big on catching. He's fumbled a couple times. But we just elevated Tanner Hudson from the practice squad, and I've liked what we've seen from Tanner Hudson. I'm excited to see him. Also, the Bills just traded for Rasul Douglas from the Green Bay Packers, so they're getting a little help there. So we've got a lot of stuff we could be looking at seeing here. Jamar Chase is going to be looking to have a big game. Mr. 7-Eleven. T. Higgins is looking to bounce back a little bit still.
Oh.
And Tyler Boyd is also out there. Also, we might throw in Yoshi just to get him another touchdown because why not?
Also, didn't really understand why you called him 7-Eleven at first.
Because he's always open.
I get it. I think, yeah. Because I was like, his number's not 7 or 11, 1. So where did...
He's Uno, Mr. 7-Eleven himself. So I am obviously going with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I really want to just say Buffalo just to make you mad, but I'll go with Cincinnati. Cincinnati's been hot. They've been looking a lot better. They're home. I'm pretty sure they had the lead back in January before the whole situation happened, right? Or they were driving. I know it was 7-3, but I don't remember who had the lead.
Both teams looked great that night. The playoff game though that came after that, the Bengals won that.
But I was just trying to think of like a prime time, last time they fought on prime time. So
you know who might have a big game?
T. Higgins.
No. Jordan Battle.
I hope so, man. 3 interceptions, baby.
He had a great stop against the 49ers, 3rd and 14. Stopped Brock Purdy from getting that first down. And Josh Allen's been pretty prone to turning over the ball, and granted, there's a lot of ball hawks on the Bengals defense, but I think Jordan Battles, his moment's coming.
I want him to get that pick 6 so badly, man.
So that you can buy a jersey?
Maybe.
It's on tape.
But didn't I make like a deal with you though?
You said if he gets an interception, you're going to get a shirt. If he gets a pick 6, you're getting a jersey.
What? Yeah, I felt like I said that. I just don't remember when.
I don't know. It's in the archive.
It's somewhere in there.
One of the fans let us know. But yeah. Cincinnati Bengals, that's going to be
I'm interested to see how the stripe works, though. Because, I mean, that's very hard to coordinate something like that. So I'll be interested to see how the stripes look in the jungle on Sunday.
This has been posted I've seen it for a few weeks, so...
Hopefully everyone gets the memo.
They were good with the whiteout. Whiteout, they coordinated well.
But the whiteout's not as hard because it's just one set color. Whereas it's like 3 sections are black, 3 sections are orange. Like you have to be really careful.
I don't know if other fan bases are like this, but the Bengals fan base is very good about their influencers. I don't know what else to call them, like Bengals captain and Bengal Jim.
Yeah.
That going out and like saying like, okay, here, if you don't have an orange shirt, here's an orange shirt. Wear this to the game.
Yeah.
Or, like, come and find me and we'll have stuff for you. So I don't know if other fan bases are like that, but that's something I've liked about the Bengals fan base is the influencers seem to be very open to helping out the casual fan.
Yeah.
So.
All right, we'll see how it looks, though. I'm excited to see how it looks.
That's all I've got for tomorrow's extended show.
All right, yeah.
I am exhausted, and we still have to edit this. Do you have anything else to say before the spiel?
Zach Mettenberger, I hope you're doing good, man.
What is Zach Mettenberger doing right now? Let's
find
out.
I'm gonna look him up right before you.
Zach Mettenberger. He is a former football quarterback who played in the national. What happened to Zach Mettenberger? Last played professionally with the Memphis Express of the Alliance of American Football in 2019. He began a coaching career and has been an analyst for the University of Alabama since 2022.
How about that?
Wow.
After going to school at LSU.
Well, Zach Mettenberger, if you are listening to this show, hope you're doing well, and thank you. Please subscribe. As for the rest of you, thank you also for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We want all of our people to subscribe, Zach Mettenberger and others. We can be found anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube at No But Show. Our social media pages are NoButts_show on Instagram and NoButtsShow on TikTok. My Twitter is Josh_Butts_2001, and Sunday night I will be live tweeting the Cincinnati Bengals game like crazy. If you would like to reach us, you can email us at bullmoosepodcast2. That's the number 2 at gmail.com. Finally, our spread shop will be in the description, so check out the merch. You can buy the Let Somebody Cook sticker there. And it seems like we're getting into that season where Chus is going to be yelling that a lot. Once again, if you enjoyed today's show, like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, go do something nice for someone.